Find out what was moving the market today. Julia Lee joins us from Bell Direct. Now, Julia, very good to speak to you because you're so good with the technical analysis of what we've been seeing on the markets today. Just firstly, why did the market do so well?
We did see a good lead come through from the US market, and it was quite significant because it was the first time in 4 sessions that we've actually seen the Dow Jones Industrial Average move upwards, and it was a very strong move upwards with the Dow Jones Industrial Average gaining 1.3%. We also saw most commodity prices higher, so leading into our market today, that was a good sign. In the end, our market up by 1.6%. Now, you've been watching the 4,750 point level on the ASX 200 all day, and I guess I should explain where that's coming from at the moment, and that's actually the intraday high that we saw on the 17th of September. So the highest level we've seen for the ASX 200 in this move upwards so far. So we've broken through that level, and I guess that's why that 4,750 point was significant. If we have a look at the technical levels for the Australian market at the moment, I'm just going to bring up a 2-year chart. So this is a 2-year chart for the Australian market, and you can see that this time last year I've been mentioning this period of performance between 4,800 to 5,200, which is where we saw consolidation 3 years last year. And if we draw a line of that 4,800 point mark, you can see that's the real next test for the market. So 4,800, that's the next level of resistance for the market. If we go past that 4,800 point mark, then of course the next level is going to be that 5,200 point mark. And there's a real possibility that once again between 4,800 and 5,200, it may once again be a period of consolidation for the Australian share market. Now, having a look at the Australian share market today, and the best performing sector was actually the smallest sector on our market, which is information technology. Now, that's because Australia doesn't have a huge tech sector, but overnight in the US, we did see technology stocks outperforming. The Nasdaq outperformed the other 2 major indices, and that was because of broker upgrades to some of the stocks in that tech sector. So information technology receiving a boost there from the US performers. We also saw property, industrials and the financial sectors doing extremely well. In terms of big movers, I guess the big one to watch today would have been Boart Longyear. It moved up by 8.5%, but not only that, it was the highest volume mover as well. I guess the upgrade from Macquarie really helping that stock up. Karoon Gas also seeing a big move today after some heavy falls yesterday. That stock was up by 7.3%. Once again, a broker upgrade behind that. Morgan Stanley has started covering the stock and has started their coverage with an overweight recommendation. Now, on the downside, we did see Panos down by 6.1%, and that was after a market update by its managing director. We also saw Kudeco down by 5.8%. It really hasn't been doing too well in the last 3 sessions, so continuing that downtrend in that stock. But altogether, a pretty good day for the Aussie market.
Sure was, wasn't it? Now, one stock that did go against the trend was Fortescue. A lot of concern about this looming deadline tomorrow.
Fortescue back in August made a deal with the Chinese, and they were going to supply China Iron and Steel, as well as the largest steel maker in China, Bayo Steel, with its second half production needs at a 35% discount, and I guess that was dependent on receiving funding up to about $6 billion and finding funding for that $6 billion by the end of September. Well, the end of September is tomorrow, so that's the funding deadline, and I guess this deal would have made a lot of sense because China is looking to diversify its steel supply, its iron ore supply away from the majors BHP Billiton, Rio Tinto, and Fortescue would have been a good option there. And Fortescue, of course, needs China to be able to complete its expansion plans. So I guess if this deadline isn't met, which is a distinct possibility, it's unlikely that the deal is going to go away. What's a more likely scenario is that we're going to see an extension of this deadline. I guess a bit of nerves coming into Fortescue stock ahead of this deadline. If we have a look at Fortescue's share price, this is in the last month, you can see that in the past week we have seen a downturn in their shares because of this funding deadline looming. Today we saw another loss of just 0.3% today.
Yes, well, we'll watch and wait for that update with interest. Now, Qantas came up with some better numbers for August. What did you make of those?
We saw a jump of 6% in passenger numbers for Qantas in August, 3.4 million passengers. However, if we break down the numbers, what we'll see is that the underlying trend is to move from some of the more premium brands like Qantas back down to some of the lower cost brands like Jetstar. So if we have a look at capacity for Qantas in the month of August in terms of its domestic services was actually actually down by 4.8%. In terms of its international services, this is a Qantas International Services, it was down a massive 14.7%. Now, Jetstar Domestic actually saw a fall in capacity too, and we saw a fall of 5.5%. Where we did see the increase was in Jetstar International, where we saw a jump of 29% in terms of capacity. So if we have a look at passenger numbers, in terms of passenger numbers for Jetstar International, where we saw the huge jumps, we saw a jump of 107% in their passenger numbers. Now, comparing that with Qantas International, they actually saw a drop of about 28% in terms of their numbers there. So Qantas coming out with some good headline figures, but when you break down the numbers, it really is because passengers seem to be moving from Qantas to the lower cost airline of Jetstar. But Qantas shares up today.
And Julia, of course, there's going to be plenty of questions for you, I bet, tonight on Your Money, Your Call.
8 p.m. tonight, so if anyone's got any questions, they can email in.
Definitely. Julia, thank you so much. And of course, that email address too is yourmoney@skynews.com.au. Julia, we look forward to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Righty.